Good evening. This is old Nan, and I've got Ashley and Steffi with me tonight, and we are the She Wolves of Winter. So we're gonna be meeting over here till like in for a little bit. So I'll let them carry on and introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Ashley from the Iron Underneath. Hi, guys. How are you? We're here to talk about season 8, episode 3, The Long Night. And I'm so excited. And we finally have Steffi with us this time. So glad you're here.
Okay, hey everybody, it's Steffi. Yeah, everything else the lady said. Let's get to cracking, eh?
Okay, well, I guess we're gonna start with. I like to want to start with the opening, and in the opening, you notice that the ice went all the way to Winterfell this time. And we get right off the bat, Sam scared to death. So everybody's scared to death. What'd y'all think about the opening?
Oh, I love the opening, actually. I thought it was so perfect to open with Sam rubbing his hands together. Oh, my God, what am I doing? Oh, no, it was so sweet because that's always Sam. And then Ed going, God, you have to wait till the last second. It was really, I liked how it opened. I really did. I just love Sam. Steph?
Okay, sorry. I'm like hopping between like opening the chat. Okay. So the opening scene, I had issues with the opening scene a little bit with Sam. I don't understand why he's there.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's a coward. He's basically what his father says he is, right? So like I don't really understand why he's there. I don't understand why Jan Royce isn't there either.
I wanted to, yes, that bothered me.
Yeah. Tyrion, it's like with Sam, it's more like what Tyrion says in season 1 to Jon: a sword needs a whetstone as a mind needs a mind needs books. So like it doesn't make sense why he's there. But Jan Royce was my huge ticker because like last episode we saw him, and then you see Brienne, Jamie, and Todd in front of the Vale army, and I didn't get that. Like, where's Jan Royce? Like, isn't he supposed to be like a seasoned battle person? Like, he fought in Robert's Rebellion, right? So why isn't he there? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. But Tyrion and the wine was
completely
hilarious.
agree with that. Yeah, I loved how he went right over and grabbed the flag and a wine. That was great. It was so Tyrion, and he looked so mad. Like, I'm not fighting. I'm so mad. I have to go to the crypts with the women and Varys and hang out. He was pissed. It was evident on his face that he was not happy. But yeah, my husband was like, "What are those shields?" And I was like, "They're there because I don't know where Bronze Jan Royce is." I mean, he is Littlefinger's dead, so it's Bronze Jan's army.
Well, I thought that they may have gone. I didn't really notice. I've only got to rewatch it once, and not quite all of it. But yeah, I did notice that I didn't see him. But now that you think about it, telling me that, Steffi, I really didn't even notice the Vale army. But I guess you said they were there. Um, I didn't pay that.
Brienne was leading the Vale.
Oh, was it the Vale? I thought
Brienne and Jamie were
north for Sansa.
Yeah, it was just there were Aaron shields on either side of her. So it was kind of like, huh. I mean, it makes sense because but you didn't really know the Knights of the Vale were coming, or, nothing was said about the Knights of the Vale. So that was a little strange to just see Vale shields and only veil shields, but oh well. They're not too good. They're not the best with continuity. I always say there's just I need to have more suspension of disbelief than ever before with any other thing in my life.
Okay, so I don't know how far you guys are going on the opening scene, but there's like a few scenes in that huge section. Like basically the beginning is one of the most like important things. So Lyanna Mormont shouting was awesome. I like that. Tyrion grabbing wine was hilarious too. But there's a scene between him and Bran, right? And he looks at Bran after he grabs the while he's going to grab the wine, and then he grabs the wine because it looked like he was walking up to like an armor like place, like a weapons place, and then he grabbed the wine from there. It could have went either way, but it's almost like whatever conversation he had with Bran in episode 2 was so important, he decided to go into the crypt. Right? That's the way it came off to me. Right? So
I think you may be onto
Yep.
something there, because he did give him the stare down, and we don't know what he talked to Bran about. And we did have Danny saying that his mind was needed. His mind was needed. Well, we all know he's smart and everything, but it's looked to me like him and Bran may have something, or Bran knows more about what's going on with his life than he does. As far as Cersei, or maybe he told Bran told him about Cersei and what's, and Bronn. You never know.
I'm gonna jump in here really quick.
That's true.
Go for it. Okay, so the interesting thing for me, if Bran talked to Tyrion, was Tysha. Where do whores go? Right? If Bran is an all-seeing person, he would know where she is. Right? Right? So that
Ooh,
and I'll talk about that later
like
when it comes
that.
to Stanza and everything like that. But yeah, that's what came to me when I first saw that look down.
I did.
Oh, that makes me sad. That's actually so true. He would be able to see that.
That is a good idea there, Steffi. That would go back, call back to the books there. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about it.
Also, maybe that's why he instantly mentioned to Sansa we should still be married.
Yeah, I got that feeling too, but it was more Tysha or whatever her name is. I forget, like Tysha, I think her name is. But
yeah,
like
Tysha. Just yeah.
He like Bran's supposed to be all seeing, right? So if he sees anything related to the past, right, like outside, he would know that Jaime didn't buy her, right? He would have known that Jaime was lying in that moment or telling the truth in that moment. When he's taking Tyrion out. Tysha's also brought up in the show when he's playing that drinking game with Bronn and Shay too. So it's not just like book realm
and Shay
canon; it's a show canon, right? So she's got to be somewhere, right?
It's true. Yeah, she does. I mean, and at the end of Dance with Dragons, that's all he does is go around asking where whores go. So maybe he asked Bran where do whores go, and he told him the story. I mean, yeah, that's really interesting because it's almost like Jaime was thinking about Brienne and Tyrion was thinking about some kind of love as well. But I didn't even think of Tysha, which is so great stuff. I love that.
Yeah, like especially with that scene, like Tyrion has sex with her prior to all the guards. For all we know, there's another living heir to the Lannister line right now. Because they were wed, right? So they did live off in that like little cabin or whatever in near Lannisport or whatever. So like it's kind of like Theon and the sailor's daughter or whatever, So,
Yeah.
like, there could still be a living heir to that
Right.
line.
Oh,
Well,
wow. You're right.
that's a thought. But Sansa's kind of playing with Tyrion a little bit, don't you know? But she telling him that you were the best. You were the best one. What'd you think of that? I thought that was funny. She's
I
right, though.
love
He
that.
did treat her better than anybody.
He sure did. He kept saving her over and over again from awful Joffrey. He even saved her from pushing Joffrey over the edge of the bridge that day while he made her look at Ned's head on the spike.
No, that wasn't Tyrion. That was the Hound that did that. And then he
Oh,
like goes up
that
to
was
her
the
and he
Hound.
wipes the blood off of her face. And he's like, "Not now,
That's
little
right.
bird," right?
Right, yeah. Don't do it now, little bird. Wait. Yep. You're right. It was the Hound. Yeah, Tyrion just seemed to
I'm
me
telling
like he just kept going on and on about the Blackwater, and I can do this, but the line I did that gave me pause is when he said, there's something up there that they might not see that I could be seeing, that we could learn from. I thought that was kind of like, oh yeah, Tyrion would see something that nobody else usually sees.
I
Well,
had
I
a
don't.
huge. Sorry,
Go
Cynthia,
ahead.
you can go. I can go. Are you
I
sure?
said, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we're kind of diverging. We're going into the weeds more and more, but okay, I had like a huge problem with that scene because it's in the books. They would have added so much more stuff. Like I feel like Tyrion would have known to put Dany and Jon on mounts, right? Like he gave Bran or not Bran, or Bran. So they would have worn armor, the dragons. Like I feel like so when Rhaegar and Viserion were going at it, like it wouldn't be scratching him at all. It would just be scratching the armor, trying to get through. Like there was so much stuff.
Yep.
Another thing is I'm pissed off. Okay, like really pissed off. So when it came to like,
I was waiting for this.
okay, I'm not gonna go that far. But yeah, you guys can see your pieces about that because I have so much stuff. Like I have so many notes that I just shoved in. So I'm just gonna save it.
Do it, Steph. Go.
No.
Honey child,
You guys,
we've been
go,
waiting on you to come here
There
and
we
do
go.
just that. That is exactly what we've been waiting for because we'd love to hear that other side. Go for it.
I'm actually gonna move on to the next scene because I feel like these little bombs that I have to wait. Okay, so Tyrion sees Bran, right, and they have that stare down, and then Bran gets wheeled away, and then they look up and like the camera shot, it looks up to the broken tower, and I feel like that's a really crucial scene because that's where this whole book started, was Cersei and Jaime screwing in the tower, then Bran getting pushed out of it, and I have an inkling that Arya, that's how she got to the Godswood. Right? I feel like that's the way that she went, right? Anyways. And then it's all right.
Big.
It also kind of goes to like the Septon Maribald speech too, right? Like a little bit, right? Where it said lightning strike and it's called the Lightning Tower as well, right? Where this is where broken men are created right here, right now. Right? Like all these men are going to be broken by the end of this battle right now.
Yeah.
Right? That's I just kind of tied the two together. Yeah.
That's awesome. That makes me sad because it's true. All the broken men were together too. They were all together. Arya, the Hound, Barrack.
What was it? The bastards, the broken men, and what was
Cripples,
the other one?
Cripples, bastards, and broken things.
Cripples, bastards, broken men. They were all there, and I thought that the visual of the setup of the troops outside of Winterfell, I enjoyed that. You got to see that, and I liked that. I mean, we saw Jorah with Ghost, and you saw Brienne and all them, and you saw the whole outline of Winterfell, and you don't just looking at the show normally, you don't realize how big that place is supposed to really be. And in that scene, when they showed the above scene of it, we really get a look at how big the place really is supposed to be, with all the horses
That's
out
true.
there and all. Yeah, I thought they did a good job of the defenses for the castle.
They did, and you could also see the round towers and the crenellations, the different towers, which I loved that too. You could see the centuries of building Winterfell, and then the weirwood tree and the godswood. Yeah,
Well,
I
I
love that
was
formation with the Dothraki, but they did send them off to their deaths, didn't they? They became the fiery hand. You know, we all thought
I,
Melisandre was going to go to Volantis and bring back the fiery hand to fight for the Dawn, but it turned out to be the Dothraki, and they basically are now extinct.
well, that's
Killed the
true. But
Dothraki.
if you look at it, both of the foreign armies that came to Westeros are basically now gone. There's not that many of the Unsullied left, and all the Dothraki are gone. I mean, they
Yeah,
just all went out with a blaze of glory, literally.
yeah, literally.
Okay.
You know, it reminded me of that. Real quick, I'll just say this. It reminded me of when in season 1, I think it was Robert and Cersei were talking about, was the one moment where they actually laughed together, and they were talking about what holds the kingdom together, and Cersei said, "Our marriage," and they started laughing. And Robert started talking, because she was talking about troops and all this kind of stuff, and he said, "God, you open your lips and your father's voice comes out." And she said, "Well, is my father wrong?" But he said, "You know, if the Dothraki get here to Westeros, we are going to be holed up in our castles as they rape and pillage the land." So the Dothraki would never be able to live in Westeros, or they would do that. It would be like the Ironborn times 100.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
jump
don't
in
So it
know.
there.
wouldn't work. And it's
I
sad
don't
that
know if
they're
I
gone.
agree with that, but Steffi, you go ahead.
Okay, so we're at the Unsullied army. Okay, so this is where I found this really cool tie between Tyrion grabbing the wine and then the Unsullied, because in the books, the Unsullied have a wine of courage that they constantly drink, and what it's supposed to do is like basically numb any pain that they have. So I thought that was like an interesting tie to the books there, right? And then okay, when it came to the books, I was thinking about kind of like Cynthia and the fiery hand and everything like that. But in the first, or not the first book, the second book, when Dany goes to Karth or whatever, she ends up going, and she ends up hearing this story from Jorah about the Unsullied and the Dothraki, and supposedly it was like 600 or I forget the number. It was like 40,000 Dothraki against it was like a small number of Unsullied. And basically at the end, it was 16,000 Dothraki, and it was like 600 Unsullied left. Forget the name of the battle though. I didn't even write it down. There was so much stuff to research for this episode. But it kind of made sense that they went out first, right? Because they were the weaker army in that condition. And this is where it gets me mad, right? That they didn't put enough of the book in here. When it came to the layout, like you said, Ash and Cynthia, in the book, it's supposed to be Winterfell's supposed to have a moat between two walls. The first wall is 80 feet, then there's the moat of water, and then there's 100-foot, right? And all I was thinking is they wouldn't have had there were so many parts in this episode where it was so stupid, where they should have created that moat in the show. They should have splurged a little bit, right? Because they didn't do a lot of frontal shots, and it was in between, right? So you wouldn't have to add the physical water. You just would have need to show 2 walls there, because that's where Arya, Robb, and all of them learn to swim. It's in that mode. It's in the very first book, like almost one of the first chapters. So like it didn't make sense for them to just drop the ball there. So I was kind of a little ticked off because there's a lot of scenes where the fighting it would have been more effective to have that than to have the show version. That was my opinion on it. And then the catapults, yeah, it was just whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that until you said it. The moats, because what kind of water might that be? If it's hot springs, it might have salt, so they might not have been able to cross it. I thought of that a while ago, but I didn't think of it last night or the other night. So yeah, you're right, Steph. That hot water should have done something. Go ahead, Nan. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, that's all right. I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, man. I was just looking at my notes here. Davos is really pissed about Melisandre coming back, but, I thought that she handled him very well. I'm going to be dead before morning. So, and he was like amazed at her eventuality. Yeah. But when Mel saw Arya they gave each other a long look, Melisandre and Arya, and that is was a kind of neat way they did that, and it was like such a great army sort of brought so low. I mean, it just don't seem like the North has been devastated, not just by the winter and the dead, but by the War of the Five Kings already. And then you got Sansa did her best to prepare. But, if this was the books, this winter would be lasting for years. It wouldn't be over within just one night. That night would last years. So, but we still get the essence of it being a long night, the long night. But I just knew that Grey Worm was a goner when she told him Valar Morghulis and he said Valar Dohaeris.
That was kind of interesting.
I was glad
how yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, that was interesting how all of a sudden, Melisandre was speaking to everyone pretty much in Valyrian, including, well, I guess she spoke to Arya in the regular tongue, but I liked that, just that recognition with Grey Worm. But what was I just gonna say? It was about sorry, I lost my place. Somebody else can go if you want to.
I'll jump in. Okay, so we talked about the Dothraki, and then so Jon and Dany is the next scene for me. I don't know, like maybe I just wrote it out of place, but what is it? So they're perched up on a mountain. Now, if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, you know the game. Now the game has House Whitehill, and it basically follows that house, and they're at the southern end of the Wolfswood, which has mountains supposedly. So that's the only place I can think of that would have it. Now, whether that's canon for George R.R. Martin or it's canon for D&D, I don't know. But for me, the way that game ended was one of the guy's friends, he got that ice dagger shoved into his heart because he didn't want him to die, right? So he turned him into a wife. So like right off the bat, you get the feeling like my crack theory was that Dany was going to get stabbed with the dagger, and that was going to be Lightbringer. That was my thing. It could completely destroy, right? I'll read the quote when we get more into the prophecies. But in the last chat in Feast for Crows, I think it is, when Sam goes to the Citadel, he gets told by whatever that guy's name is, the guy with the big fists, anyways, the Raven guy, and he says, I'm gonna go to Danny, but but he says, oh, screw prophecy. Prophecy's like a woman's basically giving you a BJ, and that when you're reaching pleasure point, right, he bites it off, or she bites it off, right, and then you scream like, what the fuck, right? So that's all that came through my head throughout this entire episode. Like, all my theories were BS. Basically, like all my crack theories were BS. like thanks for ruining it for me. Like don't I put this on Twitter. I'm like, I enjoy the pleasure and the thought of it, but like you screwed me over. Like you George R. R. Martin, you screwed me over. Like thanks.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about all the plots and everything that all of us talked about. I think, as far as it goes, we didn't have the wolf pack. All we got was Ghost, and I think he's still alive. Did y'all see him? I don't know. But we got the main characters, a lot of the main characters. I thought Tormund was dead. I just thought I saw him die, but then evidently I don't think he did. So I had to wrap my mind around exactly who's left, because you got Theon, Jorah, Little Bear. We'll get to her in a little bit. But there's so many of them, but there's still so many of them that's left. And when Jorah comes back from the fiery hand, he's by himself just about. Him and some few horses are about it. And then Arya tells Sansa to go to the crypts. By that time, I do believe Sansa has realized that all her pettiness, you would think, was for nothing. But that's it.
Okay, I'll jump in here.
Yeah, Miss.
I'm sorry, Ash.
Go for it, Steph. No, go ahead, please.
Okay, so we're talking about like Melisandre coming up. Okay, there's like huge issues, right, that I have, right? Because in the first season, when Khal Drogo dies, right, like that whole setting and everything, the environment for that, the Dothraki hate witches, right? I forget what they call them, but they want to kill Mirri Maz right off the bat. Why would that Dothraki be like, oh yeah, like do this for me, please, like? Right, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, what are you playing at, right? Like, what they leave Vase Dothrak and that's it. Like, there goes their culture and shit. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think that was a budget issue. They didn't want to bring the fiery hand. We'll just light the fiery hands.
Okay, so I could also, and then when it lights up and everything, it kind of looks like a wave, like woo, right? Like the crowd at like games and stuff like that. Like the whole thing was like when Sansa and Arya were watching it, it was like a huge wave going. Like I found that funny. I don't think it was supposed to be, but I found it very amusing. What else? I don't understand why Melisandre didn't light Jorah's sword on fire. That was stupid. Like, okay, I'm just gonna light everyone's sword on fire. Screw you. Like, you just told them all to lift their swords, but like, you're fine. Also, Jorah's the only one that started the battle and then went to the very end to finish it. I like that. That seemed very fitting for Jorah to like defend his queen to the very last, like start it and finish it just for her. Yeah,
that's a good point because he was there from the beginning with her.
Yep. And then I also agree with Ashley on you basically committed genocide against like an entire race right here, right? You basically watched all the men that could possibly fertilize women just like up and die, right? Even that one that they tried to make important, right? He ended up turning into a white later on, but like he's dead now.
Yeah, Carl. Yeah. Yep.
And then
that was that for all of them.
Like it was just,
and you're right, Steph. Like okay with their swords being, with their aurochs being lit up by a red witch? No. They wouldn't be like, oh, how cool. They'd be scared to death.
Be like, what the
I don't know. I think that once they got
They'd
the
be
air acts alight, they might be happy with her, especially with all the snow around.
don't get me
But it
wrong.
is
It was visually very
visually it
pleasing
was
to see the
great.
lights go out because
Yeah,
in,
visually it was
in
great. I agree.
in the DVD compilation, I forget what season it is. Like I have a bunch of like videos scattered and everything like that. Thoros Amir is telling the Lightbringer Azor Ahai and Nisa's story. And basically that's one of the scenes that you see. I actually posted it on my Twitter too, right? And that's one of the scenes where you see all these like little villages go out, but it's like the swords for them, right? So I thought that was very fitting. What else? I didn't really get why Davos was so pissed off still, to be honest. Like they forgave Jamie for like basically standing by and like being a participant in everyone's death, and then you're still pissed off at her killing like one kid. Like get over yourself already. Like there's a bigger issue here. And like I watch us like routinely, like I go back in our old videos, and what did I say about them getting the white? Why wouldn't you, like what's your thought process? Go take Melisandre but beyond the wall, and then you can do poof, a flaming ball of fire, right? So like the way they did it was just like they made her seem so unimportant this entire series, and then like at the last minute they should have shown something, that she had something, right? Like some sort of power throughout this whole thing, right? Like even if it was like lighting, like flicking her fingers and like a candle like flicking up, right? It would have been okay for me. But yeah, I didn't get Davos's angry like face. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be dead before dawn," and it kind of ties to the theory of Miri Mazdur too, right? And the whole old Nan story about Dawn and everything like that. I like that. I enjoyed that. Like toss in. They threw a lot of prophecy in this episode, like a lot.
Yeah.
Mel looking at Arya, right?
That
ties
cool.
into the
I
book
like that
too, right? Where you have Mel in the book saying she's looking for Azor Ahai, but all she sees is snow. But what she actually ends up seeing is what she assumes is Arya, but we all know it's Alice Skarsgård on the girl on the gray horse, and she's basically riding to Castle Black, right, to get Jon, right? But she assumes that's Arya. So for me, it's almost like these little nuggets were actually dropped for Arya along this whole entire path that Melisandre didn't pick up on because she's never met Arya. But like in the show, she did meet Arya, so it did make sense. Like it tied in properly. But with the second episode with Jenny's song, it made sense because that was Maggie the Frog, right? Which would have been replaced by Melisandre in the show. So yeah, and then that's it, and then the battle begins and everything. Sorry, that's a lot. I had to drop.
Right. The Ghost of High Heart. Yeah, the Ghost of High Heart. I love you. Why we love you so much. And I have to agree because there was a lot of prophecy coming together. And yes, Melisandre, it was the Ghost of High Heart that said, "Don't bring your grief to my hill. I've gorged on grief at Summerhall. So be gone, wolf child." And so, but then, it was kind of cool hearing those brown eyes, green, Circe with her green eyes, and the Valonqar theory, or the Valonqar prophecy. Arya, maybe, who knows? If it is, I mean, I really don't even know if that's true or not, but if it is, Arya's gonna come flying through and kill Circe too. Maybe, the Hound. That was actually one of the things I love the most is the Hound and his love for Arya, and every time he'd see her fighting, no matter if he was scared. And I love when it's always kind of like, oh, there's fire, I'm pissed, get away from me, whore. I'm gonna hide, or it's death. And then Barrick was like, tell her that. I love that, because the Hound's kind of like, like I said last time, the Hound's kind of like a big part of Arya's life and of her shaping who she is, even though whether she liked it or not, she sort of became a little bit like the Hound, and they have a bond. So that was sweet. I like that. And Barrick is my favorite, and I understand, like, he's got one flaming sword, though. It's like, can you light up the other swords? I thought the same thing. Like, why doesn't Jorah have a lit up sword? And why is Ghost, for book's sake, standing next to the guy that Ned threw out of Westeros for being a poacher and a slaver? This is very odd to me, right? I mean, nobody had to forgive Jorah for it wasn't in the show, but that was a little odd. Like, just put Ghost next to, like, John maybe, or somebody, Ed, Sam, I don't know. It's just weird to see him next to Jorah. But screw everything. Suspension of disbelief once again. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, I liked how Sansa and Arya were up on the battlements, and Sansa's like, I don't want to abandon my people. Go to the crypts, Arya tells her, hands her in Dragonglass and says, what do I do with this? I don't know how to use this. Stick him with the pointy end. She's gone. That was cool. I like that a lot, because that was John's advice. Stick him with the pointy end.
Yeah, I like that too.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in.
But Melisandre coming up, it was very, like, reminiscent to me of the books, and the way, and also of Gandalf. How Gandalf would always come riding in The Lord of the Rings when something big was about to happen. Here comes Gandalf finally at the very end of things. And it made me think of him. Go for it.
Me? Okay. Okay, so
Go ahead, Steph.
okay, so yeah, like we pretty much agree, Ash, like on like everything. Like it like a lot of it didn't make sense in the scope of the Dothraki and
All right. You're gonna jump in, Steph, or no?
Yeah, I am jumped in, ain't I?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm live. Okay, so I didn't understand with the Dothraki why they seized the catapult fire. It didn't make sense. They used the catapults once, and
Yeah, you're here.
it's like, oh, stop, that's it. You know what I would have done? I would have filled that thing with the rest of the dragon glass that they have, and I would have just fucking tossed it. Right? I would have tossed it throughout the whole battle. You don't know how many they have. Like, go toss it. Just keep going until the catapult people are dead. That's what I would have done. Instead, you just like you get them to throw like 2 rounds and then that's it. Like, what are you doing? What else do I have here? He looks like he's gonna cry. Yeah, we talked about like the genocide of the Dothraki. That was like so sad. And it kind of harkens to the entire series where they're trying to. The book is basically around the Targaryen lineage, trying to stay in power, and now it's only down to basically like 2 people and a bunch of hordes and Essos, right? And they're like bastard offspring. So, like, it was just sad. Like, Grey Worm was the only one that cried during that scene. Everyone didn't understand the importance of that scene, but he did. Right? It was so sad, and it was really fitting because the Unsullied can't have offspring, right? So I found it like it's almost like if Varys was there and he saw it, he would have started crying too, right?
Yep.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. I have something I want us to jump in on, though. I want to go back to what we were talking about with the prophecies and everything. And I think that they use the prophecies for deception, for strictly deception in a lot of cases. Everything that they've come around with, there's always been hints that there's something to it, but it's always in a deceptive way. Even when they put out the trailers and everything, they went around and they talked about, oh, there's going to be a lot of deception this next week and all this. And then actually, and then when I saw, we rewatched the previous show where John tells Danny who he is and all, and the look she gives him, man, I was going around the con saying Danny's gonna turn on John. Danny's gonna turn on John. Something ain't gonna go right, Well, she did veer from the plan, but she had her Oliver Dothraki out there, and she just watched them die. So the dead are already here, is what she told them. But yeah, I think that it's a lot of deception, even with Melisandre. They give her just enough to keep that storyline going and all. And the whole thing with Arya, Danny, John, and the whole thing, it's they set up so many scenarios that it really could be each. Now we've got all these people left. That doesn't mean that all these people will live to the end of the show. We still got the last four to go with too. So and as far as the catapults go, Steffi, I totally agree. Did you see they didn't have but about three of those balls stacked out by each catapult? They should have had something, head high, stacked some with the glass stuck in it and go just burst when it hits. I agree totally with that part. And as far as the divided loyalties. I got down here divided loyalties. The only thing I saw was the Sansa talking to Tyrion and Melisandre having to stood up and saying, the Dragon Queen. If it weren't for the Dragon Queen, you wouldn't be here now. And that's true. So anyway, I'll
Yeah,
let you get back with me, Stash. Steffi, I hear you thinking.
I do too. I just have to say, Missandei was kind of badass right there. If it weren't for the Dragon Queen, but that kind of it tied in with the last episode where Bran said, I don't know. How's it going to end? I don't know. But we never had dragons before. So that was the difference. That made the difference. Go for it, Steffi.
Okay, I was going to save that till we got to that scene. Okay, first off, on the prophecies, I actually think the prophecies were accurate, but they were scenically accurate. They weren't
right.
Literally people accurate. They were scenically accurate. And like, how can I put it? Like, when we're talking about Azor Ahai will pull a Lightbringer from the fire or whatever, right? And like forget the fucking prophecy. Okay, in this dread hour, the hero will pull the fire or pull the sword from the fire. The blade that Arya used for that scene, what happened when Bran was attacked by the cat's paw or whatever? The fire was at Winterfell, and Robb came in and he's like, I gotta attend the fire, I gotta go, right? And then
in the library, yeah,
right. So Robb left, and then the cat's paw comes for Bran, but it stopped. So the thing that was supposed to kill Bran initially is actually the blade that saved him. But it was in this dread hour, and I'm gonna assume that was the hour of the wolf. That's what I'm gonna assume. It was gonna be like midnight or some stupid time, and it's gonna be the hour in this dread hour, and the dread hour is gonna be the wolf hour, which is the young wolf, which is gonna be Robb. And then Robb decided from that moment that he had to go to war for Ned. So it scenically, like when you zoom out of it, it made sense that the prophecies made sense. But like when you really like dive into it, it doesn't make sense, right? But like it does. Like it's so stupid, right? Like why didn't I think of it first of all, right? Like, as for Danny and John, or let's get to Missandei first. I hated that scene. Okay, that scene was stupid. You're being a little twat because your woman wanted this whole entire country, and you would have had to fight the dead anyway. Shut up. Sit there and fucking just shut up. Like, her entire point in this entire series is useless. Like, Missandei, okay, was a translator. You didn't translate the Night King language, which was what I assumed you were going to do. That's the only reason to fucking keep you around. Right? Like, what were you doing there? Just like, she was basically pussy throughout this entire flipping show. That's all she was, right? And I hope the actor knows that too. You were pussy, right? For Grey Worm, to give Grey Worm a cause to fight instead of fighting for his queen. Like, that's all you were there to do. Sorry, but like, not right. Sorry. As for
yeah, you know what? Go ahead. No, go out. Go ahead.
No, Ash.
I want to hear the rest.
no, because I'm going to hop on to the next scene. If you want to just Missandei too, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I was reading through the I don't know how I even got to this, but I was just jumping around on different Game of Thrones stuff, and I saw the cast was negotiating salaries this year. And so this year, John's salary bumped up massively. Theon's still like way at the bottom, which is so strange to me, but it seems that actors don't really like him, and maybe he's not well liked as an actor. But Missandei was the one whose salary got bumped up so big time, and I thought, well, okay, that's why she's got this scene. That's why she's standing up to the Lady of Winterfell in her own crypts going, well, if it weren't for the Dragon Queen. It's like, oh, gutsy little one, aren't you? You know, I mean, yes, you're freed and you're Danny's girl, but you kind of might not see her again. You don't know if you will. You might have no Grey Worm, no Dragon Queen at all.
I will say, though, that in the books, she's only like 8 years old, you know? So the whole concept of this storyline is kind of off to me. But in that regard, though, Sansa hadn't really even seen, none of them had really actually seen the army of the dead at that point until the crypts blew up from underneath. That's the only shot they really got of what was just a little small taste of what's going on upstairs outside.
I would have thrown Missandei in front of them, stupid bitch.
Well, you know, at this point, Sansa doesn't realize that Jon is a Targaryen either. So she's talking to Tyrion and this loyalty stuff in one way. I think what she's really doing is what she was trained to do, was to manipulate, just like Littlefinger taught her to do.
Yes, that's true. And actually, that's funny that you bring that up, because I wrote that down. What Littlefinger tells her, fight every battle in your mind always. Don't fight in the north or in the south. Fight every battle everywhere, always in your mind. And that's really, Sansa was so awesome. And I forgot to mention this in the last episode, how because I didn't hear her say it until I rewatched it. When she was talking to Dany, and Dany put her hand on Sansa's, and I love your brother, and all that, that I just want to kind of punch her for, you know, because you don't even know him. But anyway, it was that Sansa was saying, what about the north? And Dany's going, well, you know, all I care about is the Iron Throne, and it was taken from me. And Sansa said, well, the north was taken from us. It's the same thing. They were talking about the same exact thing. The north was taken from the Starks. They shouldn't be wardens of the north. They should be kings of winter again. They're not. They've lost their title because Jon bent the knee after Dany said she'd fight for him anyway. And then just, I guess, because he loved her, he bent the knee. And now the North is kind of like, well, oh great, now we get more Targaryens and dragons that might burn our people to death. Lovely, thank you. And she's, what about the North? What about the North? And Dany takes her hand off hers, like, I'm not talking to you. But Dany's got to learn a little humility here, because she's somewhere she doesn't belong. She's surrounded by people that don't want another dragon queen. She's surrounded by people who actually do take responsibility for their own actions and for who they are. They stay loyal to each other. And just even her watching Sansa and Theon last episode was like, everything she watched last episode with Jaime, with Theon, it was all these bonds that had been made that lasted throughout. Jaime and Brienne fighting together, all of it was all coming back around from what had happened before. And so it felt like, you don't know anything. And if you're going to fight, and you think you're the queen and people are calling you your grace, this is your 7 kingdoms then. So this isn't John's fight. It's your fight. It's everyone's fight. But if you're your grace, then it's your fight, not John's. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here. Okay. I agree with everything you said, Ash. Including, I fucking hate Missandei, but but like, you're gonna go off to North anyways. Like, what the fuck is it to you? What happens to the kingdom after, right? You made this promise with like Bray, like, what was that, right? Like, oh, he's gonna die anyways. Like, like that's what it sounded like, right? Yeah, I just didn't like. It made me so angry. And then Sansa was right about the divided loyalties. Like, even if they were a part of the kingdom, the North was the only one that wasn't in debt, right? Throughout the entire series, right? And up until like the battles and everything like that. So, like, what is it? It's kind of like Alberta here in Canada, where they're abused by like every other province who gets money from them, like especially Quebec, right? And Quebec is like the most racist province here. They're like all about French and the Quebecois people, right? So I got that vibe from Missandei. Like, stop being a racist. You're getting all this racist hatred from the people in the North. You think you would be better than that, right? It made me so upset. Like that one line, like, you could have just keep your mouth like, I wish D&D didn't give her that line, to be honest. Like, I wish they would have avoided it, because she's just pussy throughout the entire thing. It made me so angry. But Sansa was completely so smart in that scene. But yeah.
I think that also, when you look at the children last week that she was trying to talk to, these are children that would have been her age in the book. And these children, these were, were not raised in the best of care. They were not. She got better care as a slave, it seemed, than some of these children did, as far as just to look at how they were clothed and dressed and cleaned and all that, But of course, these kids are not going to open her with welcome arms at first. And I think that regardless of all of who's who and what's what, when you're facing the Night King, you put that stuff aside and you just hope that you can get through the night and through it all, alive. Because there's a lot of them that didn't. And I think that was more, what I was concerned about, was that and, Mel, it all worked out. And I watched the Dan and Dave at the end of the show when they had their little spiel at the end. And they said that the way they did this was that they wanted to change up the nature of the show. So what does that mean? Is this not the way the book is going to come out, or is it? So that got me really concerned about the future and what's going on after this show, after this one. But
yeah,
the the fighting, it was just awesome. It was just a little too dark. I wish that the dragon scenes had been lightened a little bit. It could have seen them a lot better. Um, John facing the Night King.
Okay, hold on before we
The
jump
fire.
down the line. Just let's not go
Okay,
that far down. Okay, so we got on to Missandei because all she is pussy.
You hate her.
Okay, so it brings back to Dany's hubris, but in this scene, like the scene where John is with Dany and like she finally says the undead are coming back. Her hubris actually works in favor for her this time, because if she would have listened to John, there would have been a lot more if she wasn't involved in that moment. But I did like the brush off, because it did go back to the scene in episode 2 where she does find out he's a Targaryen. But again, like, how much are you gonna believe? Like, you did learn this from your basically your stepbrother and your best friend. Like, how much are you gonna believe them? Like, honestly, it's not like Halloween's gonna come out of nowhere and tell you the actual truth, because clearly they're not fucking adding them to the show because they're idiots. Yeah, then Grey Worm puts on his mask. It's Tormund, Brienne, John, whatever, or everyone. Just like, it's basically just like a wave of undead comes.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is John sees the line of the others. So let's go up to there.
Oh yeah, the outside the Godswood out there. That was very. He sees them, and why didn't they just call up some dragonfire and blaze all the lieutenants up there, knock about half the army off, or most of them? I thought that was kind of a missed chance there, and yeah, and that was about it on that.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just say, like, I wanted to say this when we started before we started this, I wanted to say that I do not believe in any way whatsoever that George R.R. Martin gave his ending to Dan and Dave. No, I don't believe it. Why would he? It would ruin everything for his books. And I'm sorry, I don't think that George's books are going to end like this. I don't. It's not bittersweet. It's very tropey of, like, oh, here comes Arya flying out of nowhere, but forget about the prince who was promised, all this talk from Maester Aemon and kill the boy and all that, and then it's Arya, and John can't even get there. So that was a little bit odd to me. But the thing about it is that there's all this talk about, David and Dan are so smug. Are they not? I mean, can we just say how smug these two guys are? It's like, you guys are doing a fabulous job, but you've also got great directors. You've got great DPs. Your set dressers are awesome. Can you not take all the responsibility for everything? And David Benioff sitting there, yes, I did this, and Dan Weiss going, and I wrote the lyrics. It's like, oh, enough. I can't even watch them. I don't even know what they're talking about half the time, and I don't know if they do either. But, there was this big interview on Anderson Cooper where George was kind of like trying to skirt around what he gave him and if he gave him the ending or not. And he said, yes, I did. And then he said, no, I didn't. And he basically ended up saying, I gave him what I could. And I have a feeling the books are either finished or he's tinkering and he's waiting until it's done. There's no way he gave away that ending. Mm-mm. And the White Walkers walking up that slowly, you're right. They could have zapped him right there with Dragonfire. Or even, there were people behind him. I did love the way the Unsullied kept parting, and Grey Worm said, protect the retreat. And everybody would run in, and they'd go back into formation, and they'd part, and everybody would run into the castle, and they'd go back into formation. The Unsullied are badass. They really are.
I agree with that one there.
Okay, so I'm going to hop in. I agree with Cynthia, because when you in the episode thing on YouTube or whatever that they put out for Dan and Dave. I guess it's on HBO too, right? I didn't watch it on HBO. I watched it on YouTube like right after the episode. And they said that we couldn't kill off the characters that we were supposed to because it would have been too traumatizing for the viewer to watch. So obviously the people that were supposed to die this episode didn't die, right? So clearly more people are supposed to. They had to pick and choose. So like you wouldn't be like, oh fuck this shit, and they turn it off for the rest of the season, right? They wanted you to keep going to watch the rest of the characters die along the way, which I'm assuming they're gonna slowly kill them off, right? Now, because they have 3 episodes, so it would probably be Jaime or Tyrion in the next episode with Bronn, and then it's going to be another battle, and then slowly they're going to tick off the rest of the boxes, right? So it's going to be like a slow, gradual death escalation instead of them killing everybody. But I agree with Cynthia. I don't think George R.R. Martin gave them the whole thing. I think he gave them like bulletins. I think I said this before too in like another stream where the show's just getting bulletins at this point, right? Yeah, I agree with Ash when it comes to the back line. Danny would have, or John and Danny would have known that the fire wouldn't work if he shot the dragon fire right then and there. If he was like Dracarys and it just went down the line of those others, right? Like the commander others, right? Like he would have figured out the dragon fire wouldn't have worked, which would have defeated the purpose after. But I feel like that purpose was defeated in the previous season, right? When they were just like walking through the fire and they were just like whatever, right? And he throws the harpoon. But whatever, that's just my opinion. I did find a huge like tie into the book here, and it was the mist. Now, when Catelyn is with Sir Roderick, I believe it's near Storm's End or Dragonstone or wherever they meet Stannis and Renly. Catelyn mentions the mist, and she calls it wisps of memory and ghosts. Now, the following scene is everyone fighting, and what happens is Jaime ends up protecting Brienne in that scene. Now, in Jaime's book thing, in the right, Cersei says, if you let her fire go out, so does your fire go out. Right? So he protects her. I feel like I really wish some animated freaks out there do the books as the way they're supposed to be done. Right? So you can add every single little detail in there, because I feel like the show doesn't add enough to the viewer to get these scenes completely. But yeah, so it basically, that's where I got the mist from. And then you got that awesome scene of them going up through the clouds, and then like that, it was so stunning. Like, this is what I'm talking about, of it going to 20 in some places where they're just, the dragons are just floating there, and Dany, it was just amazing. Arya tells Sansa to go into the crypts here, right? At first, when I watched the scene, I thought it was her giving her the Valyrian steel dagger. Why wouldn't you give your sister the Valyrian steel dagger? That's what I don't understand either. Like, I feel like...
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that too when I saw that.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I thought the same thing at first. But when I rewatched it, I saw that it was a dragon blade.
Yeah, it was dragon glass. I mean, I guess, in the books, there's a difference. Valyrian steel kills the White Walkers, but not the Whites, and dragon glass kills the Whites, or is it the other way around? Now I'm not remembering. Because that scene with Small Paul and Sam, it was Valyrian steel that killed Small Paul. Or no, it was fire that killed Small Paul. So I don't know if it's just fire and maybe dragon glass that kills the Whites, but the White Walkers, the others, have to be killed by Valyrian steel or fire. So I don't know if dragon glass would, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that there's a distinction between the way you kill a White and the way you kill one of the White Walkers. There is in the books. So it seems like if you're going to give Sansa a dagger or a dragon glass weapon, that's fine, because the Night's Watch were given 100 dragon glass daggers by the Children of the Forest once a year, right? In the past, after the last Long Night, when they first formed. So it seemed like, to me, I feel like that dragon glass or that cat's paw dagger has more to it. That because it's a dragon bone hilt, and that's it seems like dragon bone might almost be kind of close to weirwood or something, and it might actually be the thing that killed the Night King, not the Valyrian steel itself, because the dragon glass, the dragon of the dragon bone hilt. Plus, I think that cat's paw dagger was Rhaegar's, because it's encrusted in rubies, and it was in the Red Keep. I've always thought that was Rhaegar's. And so that sort of is the whole coming together of Dany's vision when she sees Rhaegar riding Rhaegal over the trident and facing the others as they stop. In the books, at least, she sees herself as Rhaegar riding a dragon over the trident, and the others are stopped there. So it seemed to me that Jon should have been in full Valyrian steel armor, just like Rhaegar, green Valyrian steel armor, or Valyrian dragonglass armor, I mean. So the point of the cat's paw dagger might be the same thing as the Valyrian steel armor. I'm sorry, the dragonglass armor that she saw Rhaegar wearing, which would just mean it was Jon. In her vision, it wasn't Rhaegar, it was actually Jon, his son. So I don't know. I don't know if that dragon...
Truth bombs.
I agreed with what Steffie said earlier. They should have had armor for the dragons as well as Stanny and Jon. And, I know that Gendry was working as fast as he could, but yeah, somebody should have been working on that dragon armor, and for her armor especially, long time ago, back in seasons ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in on Ashley's rant. Okay, the dragon bone. See, this is what I don't like about the show, and I do like the consistencies of the books. Is because the hilt of the blade is black, which is dragon bone, right? It's onyx, which is how it's described in the book. But then you look in the crypts, right, when Arya's in that scene, and the dragon bones are white, right? Like there's such a disconnect, right, between the show and the books, right? It just doesn't. I don't like it. I did like the Sansa scene. That was amazing, right? But I really don't get why she got it. Everyone fighting Snow. Hold on. Okay, you can. I forget what I'm thinking of. Okay, so there's another beautiful scene where Dany finally lights up the whites. That's a beautiful scene where she goes up, and same with Jon, but Jon just follows her. I feel like Jon this episode was really fucking useless. He was such an idiot throughout this entire episode. Right? Like, no wonder no one thinks you should be king anymore. You're such a dumbass, right? Like, get your shit together, honestly. And then yeah. Just bad. Okay. Then we go to Baratheon and Alice Karstark in the Godswood. I like this scene as a book reader because it harkens back to, I think it was the Winds of Winter pre-release, where after Theon's at the party and he sees all like the whores, which were considered mance raiders, like ladies or whatever, he goes to the Godswood and he looks at the tree and he sees Bran in the tree. Right? So I feel like that ties into why Theon is there. It's almost like Theon's escape to like his actual home, which he says later, right? But like it was so beautiful to watch because it reminded me of that scene. And then when the tree starts to whistle because of the mist, right, or whatever, it harkens back to season 1 where I think it's Osha, yeah, tells Bran the old gods are talking to you, Bran, right? Don't dismiss them, right?
Yep.
And I feel like it was just it was
I thought
it was so good, like both from a book reader's perspective and a show viewer. Like if you binge watch the season, like before this season, it made so much sense for that scene because he looks up and he's like, "Oh yeah, like I'm listening to you guys. Don't worry, I know you're coming for me." It was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I got a
love that. I
question.
just love that.
Is
I
it
actually said it with your phone. Go ahead, Nan.
I got a question. What did it look? Is it just me, or did it look like the Night King and Bran were having a conversation in their heads together? Did y'all get that?
Yeah, I kept saying he's warging and he's reading the Night King's thoughts and the Night King's reading his. It's almost like they were fighting with their minds, just like that Littlefinger line. That was said in front of the weirwood tree too, to Sansa. So yeah. I like that, Nan. Are we at yeah, because that was actually Theon's whole deal, was that, just like Lady Dustin, who we don't have in the show, but it's another reference to someone who wants to be a Stark and isn't, and someone who loved a Stark or thought they would become a Stark and didn't get to, and they always they just don't forget it. And Theon really grew up there. He was a hostage. He was a prisoner of war, but he was never taught. He was never treated like that by Ned or really by anyone. He was raised as a brother. And so, when he started apologizing to Bran and Bran saying, I loved that it was Theon that he was saying that too. All you've done has brought you to where you are now. And I said it with him, home. I was like, home, and Bran says home, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I just started to cry. It really was. It was sweet because that is Theon's home. And I was really happy to see Theon be the archer that protected Bran, because Theon was always a great archer. He was kind of the one who was always kind of giving them shit that they weren't as good as he was when they were. And I also thought it made me think of Roderick Cassell too, and thinking, God, he trained all these guys. And here they are fighting for the Dawn, and he trained them all. That was cool. Just popped in my head.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. What is it? Also with Theon, it also harkens back to season 1 where he does end up saving Bran, right, from Osha and that little wildling group that they had. So it does, it is reminiscent of that. So you definitely got that feel as a viewer. It was good tie-in, right? And Roger Cassell, that was a good tie-in too. But yeah, like basically everyone he trained is there. It was good, except for Rob.
Question.
And everyone Theon killed.
Did you say that Alysanne Karstark was in the Godswood too? I didn't see her.
Yeah, she was there with Theon. You even see her while they're rolling Bran to the Godswood. She's beside Theon, right? So it's her and Theon. She was also
light,
at the table,
light reddish
too.
hair.
I didn't understand why she was at the table. It didn't make sense.
Well, yeah, because didn't we behead Rickard Karstark? I mean, the Karstarks went with the Umbers, did they not? I thought, because of the beheading. This is why I have to have like massive suspension of disbelief here, because you can't remember what they did before, so they don't tie it up right correctly. And it just bothers me to no end that you beheaded Rickard Karstark. That's why, went over to Ramsay's side. And the Umbers sort of, for some reason, went too. But I guess that was their little punishment there. Poor little Ned Umber all by himself, stuck up on the wall by the White Walkers. So it was like, someone please escort this poor kid. He's taking carts and horses and bringing all of his people back, the poor thing. But, I mean, the Glovers dropped out of it because of John bending the knee. The Umbers were gone. And now here's Alice Karstark. But in the books, I guess it sort of does tie in a little bit, because Alice Karstark did just sort of go off on her own, run away, and find John to protect her, because yeah, that was kind of, I guess that's what that was. They were trying to tie that in, but they didn't really explain it very well, because she was the girl on the dying gray horse riding to the wall that Melisandre thought was Arya. So I guess at some point she rode in, but we never really saw her, did we?
If you're talking about Alice Karstark in the books, it's totally different, because she has married the Magnar Finn. Isn't that right, Steffie?
Right. Mm-hmm.
He would be fighting in her stead, I would think, and she would probably be in the crypts. So, if this was canon or something,
Okay, I'm gonna
jump. You never know about the Thenn.
I'm gonna jump in here for a moment. Sorry, because I was researching stuff quickly, because it was stupid. Yeah, you guys are like completely right. It was so stupid to send this like a little boy alone to like, oh, here you go, just go get your like entire house. Like, let's see if they fucking listen to you first of all. But I get why they didn't send Alice Karstark, because it's almost, Carhold is almost parallel to Winterfell, and then the Manderleys are like over there, right? So it makes sense, right? But like you're right, harkening back to like all the houses in the north, like you do miss Lady Dustin, right? You do miss Wyman Manderley and all these other characters.
Yeah,
like that should have been important.
The horse.
Like, it's so stupid. Okay, so I'm gonna try to move us along. Next scene is where Sam and Ed. Let's jump in there, and I'll let you guys go first.
I have to say, I just love Ed so much. For fuck's sake, you took your time. He's always pissed. I love it. I said last stream we did, just Nan and I alone, that the word dolorous means grief and sorrow and kind of sadness. And in Arthurian myth, there's a Dolorous Guard that's an actual castle, and then there's the Joyous Guard that's Lancelot's, which is the Tower of Joy, translated. So the Dolorous Guard was this kind of sad place, and that word means sad. And I just love the fact that Dolorous Ed's always just, oh, we're all gonna die, Sam, you're late. Yeah, it was very sad though, because then you've got Ed last episode saying, last one alive, burn us, and then he rises as a white, and Sam just looks over Ed. That was sad. But I don't know what the Ravens were about either. I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I just have to say, like, these things don't tie up, and as a filmmaker, you got to tie stuff up. Gotta have a reason for Jorah to be there. And actually, if you're gonna talk to Jaime like that, if you're gonna say, Jaime, you killed the father I never knew, that I've heard was so crazy that he needed to be killed, and that I'm not gonna be like him, but now I'm so pissed that you killed my father. I mean, we've never even heard Dany really get mad about that. And we've never heard, he did quite a bit about Jorah not being able to go home. That's why in the first couple, since he was the one trying to kill Dany for Robert. So it was a little odd for Jorah, again, to be there and not explain it at all, or have him say he was sorry.
Okay,
Kind of a
I'm gonna jump in
betrayal
here.
of the North.
Can I jump in? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So when it comes,
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So when Ed dies, it kind of it does. You're right, Ash. It kind of does harken back to like Small Paul and having to carry Sam because he wouldn't get up out of the snow, right? And you feel this with a lot of characters like Jorah too, right? Like, why would Jorah fucking carry Sam? Like, you're talking about Jorah did carry Sam throughout and he couldn't even send the ravens at the fist for the first man. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop. So I was really pissed off with Ed's death because, again, it says that Sam shouldn't be there. He should be with Gilly because Gilly's the only one he has courage for, right? Like, the only reason why he got the Slayer name was because of Gilly. So why are you even up there, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. The next scene was Sansa and the crypts. But if Olan, if you got something to say about Ed and Sam, it's your turn.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I agree with you. Ed had to stand there and look at Sam after he saved his life, and that's instead of turn around and keep fighting. But, we kind of knew that Ed was going to be gone this week, but it was just, they always do that, and I really get aggravated when they do that. They just stand there and look at each other or kiss each other, and somebody comes back and kills them afterwards. That's all.
I will say quick that I liked the way, he got it through the eye, because that's a heroic death. And that's a big theme. That's Odin, that's Bloodraven, that's a lot of themes of Norse mythology going through this. And so I did like the fact that Ed got it through the eye, because he was a brave brother of the Night's Watch, and he was there from the minute John got there, and he'd been there till the end. So, it was a little strange how everybody kept leaving each other, and they're right next to each other, and they didn't help. Sam ran away again. While Ed got it, then there was a white there, and Sam just ran away, which is what Sam does. But, once again, what about little Sam? He was down in the crypts. No one came for him. I thought they dragged Gilly off, but I guess it wasn't Gilly. I couldn't see it. It was so dark on my TV, but it seemed like it was Gilly being dragged off, but then I was glad it wasn't, or maybe they saved her. I don't know. But the thing about it is that, that we're down in the crypts now, right, Steffi, where Sansa and Tyrion are having their little conversation. And so it was, I liked the way that they said that she said, "You were the best of them." And he started laughing and said, "Is that really that good?" And I love their little banter about we should have stayed married, except for the fact that they never got a divorce. So, that's kind of how the Yorks and the Lancasters in the War of the Roses brought the houses together into House Tudor, is to marry the houses. I thought that was what was going to happen with Sansa and Tyrion. Maybe it still will.
Okay, that's
Okay, so you jumped a few scenes. It's okay, Ash, though, because the scenes in the crypt are
sorry.
It doesn't matter. It was just the scene where Sansa goes in and she just like looks at everybody, right? Like in Missandei, I like this scene because if Sansa is so clever, I can understand Missandei not understanding the look. But when she looks at Tyrion, her face wavers, like almost like she trusts him a little bit, right? And that's how that's when he drinks the wine and he's like, "Oh, screw it," right? Like, fuck, we're fucked, right?
Right.
Then it goes back to the Battle of the Blackwater with the retreat. Danny or John calls to Danny in the air, but nothing happens. Then it's back to the battle where everyone goes back and retreats, and then you have that scene of the Unsullied going step by step back slowly. I like that scene, first of all. And then again, Santa in the Crypt, which is your scene. So we'll just go right up to there. I like this scene because this scene, she's in the crypts and then they have that conversation. If it were up to me, everyone would see everything that I see. But during this scene, the winds are howling through there, right? And it kind of sounds like a dire wolf howling. If you listen to it, it kind of sounds like a wolf howling. So it harkens back to the actual creation of when the Night's King was made, which he is a Stark. Well, for me, he's Edric Snowbeard Stark, which is why he had the beard in the cave, like in season 7, right? They dropped that. Like, sorry, you dropped it, D&D. Yeah, and then next scene, yeah, Tyrion. And then it goes to Theon and Bran in the Godswood. So let's go up to there.
Tyrion.
I thought that was
Okay. Yeah, so we're
Tyrion or Theon?
Go
Theon or Bran?
Theon.
Yeah, Theon
and
Theon and Bran.
Sorry, my bad. A lot of cheese to work with.
You had me confused.
And I've been drinking, so you're going to have to excuse me.
Theon. I thought that Theon was heroic. I thought that all of those, every one of them were heroic. Even the Hound had his moment of doubt. You know, we'll get to that in a little bit. But in the end, I thought Theon, as like Bran told him, everything you went through, you could see it all leading up to where it ended with him there. Even in the books was kind of parallel with that, even though they took him off to Volantis and all that other stuff. But you know, his art came back home. No matter where he was, he always came back and considered Winterfell his home. And I think that's what he felt at home, and that he had died with honor when he did die, I think. Even though, you know, at that point, there's nothing to worry about. And I thought that
very sweet scene.
Yeah, and I thought we saw more emotion out of Bran. I will say that I was a little bit underwhelmed with Bran this episode. Maybe I expected more from him, or maybe he couldn't do much because the Night King was reading him so well. You know, if Bran could read the Night King, then maybe the Night King's reading him as well. So, you know, that was my points on that.
That's what I thought too. I kind of just thought, you know, when Bran said, "I'm going to go now," and Theon said, "Where are you going?" and he warged, I thought, okay, now he's got the ravens flying, but he's watching the Night King is what that was. I don't know what else the ravens would have done except for be his eyes. So, and he could already see what happened before, where the Night King was, you know, when he raised everybody, he could see it all. So it was kind of, it felt to me like, I think I said it in the middle of the episode, like he's fighting the Night King right now in his mind.
Okay, I'm going to jump in there then. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to the Tyrion thing, but I'm going to deal with the Theon and Bran scene. Okay, I didn't like this scene. I'll admit it. I kind of felt like Ash, that Bran was fighting the Night King throughout the entire battle after that point. He thought, oh, fuck, I got to distract this guy right now because we're screwed up or else, right? But I didn't get it. I really didn't get it, because Bran has been, like, he was emotionalist last season with Mira. He was emotionalist with Arya, with Sansa, with everybody. And then with Theon, he's like, oh, you go home. Like, why are you crying when this guy tells you to go home. He's a fucking idiot now. All he is like a computer being like, go home, go home. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why you would give a shit with this guy, right? Like, he's just, it's almost like Bran's like,
True.
he's not like waist down paraplegic. It's almost like he's like neck down paraplegic, and he's like, I don't know what it's called, but like,
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, so but like, he's just sitting there and he's just like moving his neck, like don't you have hands, like, and stuff, like, move them around, be like, you're home, buddy, like at least like a move, like what are you doing just sitting there? Like, he's just chilling, like. But
Yeah.
like, I didn't understand why Theon would give a shit, right? When like everyone knows Bran's not Bran anymore. He even says he's not Bran anymore. He's the old gods now, which is like the accumulation of like every single green seer throughout history. So it just didn't make sense to me. As for the,
and Theon was there when he said
yeah,
that.
he was. So like it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
As for the Sansa and the crypts, you brought this up, Ash. So at least Varys's line here is hilarious. At least we're already in a crypt. I found that was the best line throughout the entire like show when it came to humor. Like perfect placement.
Tyrion, good.
Tyrion said if he was up on the battlements, he would have seen something. Yeah, because they were crunched for time, you didn't have time to say what you wanted to say previously. Like, this is what makes me mad too. So Tyrion probably would have pointed out the oil, right? Stannis used oil when they came after, I believe, Dragonstone with Loras Tyrell in the book to take that over. So
they did.
Stannis would have been said to use the oil there, right? So Tyrion would have probably said use oil and set the whites on fire. So like there was so much, right? The dragon armor, right? Like scattering around dragon glass pieces everywhere of what's left, right? Like there was so much things that they were missing that I know George R. R. Martin wouldn't have missed. I know it in my soul that this battle would have went a completely different way. Like, why isn't anyone wearing dragon glass armor? Right? Like, I feel like at least Jon and Dany should be wearing dragon glass armor, right? It just
it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that the season is actually more rushed. I agree with you there. This would have been, like I said earlier, if it was a real long night from the book, this is going to take a generation to solve. You know, you're going to see children born and die before it's over with, and this is a good adaptation, but it's not the book.
I want to jump in on what Olnan is saying for because it does harken back to Olnan, which is old man Cynthia, but the way Olnan says it's almost like the night lasted a generation, where babies died and people died and old people died and everything. It's almost like she confused it, just like she confuses Bran for Bran or Brandon, right? Like the one that suckled at her like boob while they were growing up. It's almost like she confuses these parts. Like to me, it seems like the night was supposed to last a generation, which is how the episode was done. It was like this episode was solely focused on the battle, and it was 100 or an hour and 20 minutes long. That's a long episode, right? So it felt like that, like everything was built up then destroyed down, right? Like you saw cities rise and fall, and it felt like that to me. Anyways,
yeah, and then after the episode, you got Dan and Dave going, well, they've had lots of time to prepare for this. It's like, what are you talking about? No, that. And I mean, I've been to castles in in Europe, old medieval castles, there is a place right above the door, right above the main gates, where they pour hot oil on the people coming to attack the castle. So why would you not dump oil on us, whether it was true or not, at Storm's End? But still, that is what you do in a medieval castle. So yeah, Tyrion's mind would have been needed there too.
But
Maybe that's a lot more of Danny's hubris, just
yeah,
everything she wants.
But
Go ahead, Nan.
They already had the oil at King's Landing when Bronn was asking what you got there, and he told him 500 barrels of oil, a pitch. He said, make it 500 more. But you got oil, you got pitch. There's so many things that you're right they could have done with that. So yeah,
and you've got it in the north too.
But the dead were all over. It was a battle. It was a very long battle. It was, and we've got to get through this battle.
Okay, so
we do.
Like, I feel like if you're gonna add dragon glass to certain areas of the wall for Winterfell, like, you should have had oil. Like you're an idiot, right? It's kind of like Cynthia and Ash, and everyone is agreeing here that like there should have been more. You had so much time to do. If you say that they had more time to do more, then it should have been more. But I felt like the Battle of Blackwater was longer. They had more preparation time than this, despite D&D saying otherwise, right? Like, Tyrion discovered the wildfire. He discovered so much, right? Like, he discovered Simeon, the singer, right? During this time, it was the Purple Wedding. It was like there was so much going on during the Battle of the Blackwater that it like the time, the preparation time between both those things is completely different, despite D&D saying that. Like, you actually had to show it. This season should have been longer. Like, maybe you should have just left like an additional episode for dialogue to get that point across then. But yeah, I didn't get it. And then Tyrion saying we should marry. It wouldn't work because of Dany. We talked about Missandei and her being an idiot. I feel additional to that scene, I feel like Sansa went too far during that scene. Like, she might have been like Peter and trying to attack every angle in her mind's eye, but like I feel like she might have dropped too much in front of Missandei if she is that protective of Dany. Right? Like now Dany knows she wants to be queen. Technically, if Missandei goes up to her the next day after this battle, right, and Sansa's like, she's trying to get Tyrion from you, right? You're kind of screwed, right? Because you're fucked without Tyrion.
I agree with you on that, Steph.
Okay, so we got the battle again. I'm trying to see. Okay, Jon sees the Night King on Viserion. Whites climb the wall. This was like a World War Z kind of harken back to. And then
they made a bridge over the fire.
Bridge to the wall
with their bodies.
Okay, and then we'll stop right before the Arya fight scene.
Okay, that's where I was going to. Go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Whites start throwing themselves onto the fire, acting as sand to snuff it out, which kind of reminds me of the Mira Mazdura scene, where she gives the prophecy. That's how I felt about it, where she's like, mountains blow in the wind like leaves, right? Because when in the book, when they stab the thing, Dragonfire turns things to ash, which would blow in the wind like leaves. Right? I felt like there was a lot of telling in that scene, despite the screw-ups. Like, yes, like when Sam stabs the white with the dragon blade, it kind of sloshes and then goes away. Right? It kind of melts and goes away. It's not like the Lyrian steel where it cracks. Right?
Right.
So I
Mhm.
felt there was a difference between the dragon fire and then the dragon glass and Valerian steel. I feel like Ash, you mentioned this earlier in the episode where there's like a different stages of the undead and then the others and then the Night's King, right? So there was like a different line. I didn't like John
Yeah.
this episode. Him stopping by the Godswood was completely pointless. Like, you should have been on the floor this entire time. Like, why was John even on Rhaegal? Like, you don't even know how to ride this thing. You were smashing him into trees and shit like that.
I know.
Like you idiot. Yeah, he should have been somewhere else doing something else. It just
Should have been with Ghost, for God's sake.
yeah, like it didn't make sense to me.
Exactly.
So when I saw this, like John does nothing on Rhaegal until he gets him killed, basically. It stands or butts, right, with that scene. And then breach of the wall.
And they man the walls, yeah.
Okay, again, breach of the wall.
Everybody
I
knew.
brought up the moat. I had a problem with, right? Because it would have been 80-foot wall moat, then 100-foot wall. So you're telling me if this happens in the book, they're gonna have like the undead basically fill 80 feet to walk across to get to that next level. That's what George
Yeah, it's not that low.
Yeah, go.
Right.
That's all I
Yeah,
got.
it's true. It's not that low. The walls of Winterfell, it's another impregnable castle, right? That's been
Supposed
taken
to be.
many times. But the walls cannot be that low. And, then they draw back, they pan back, and you see it looks like, it's humongous, and we know it is. So, like, a little bridge of whites would not be able to just instantly breach the wall. And, maybe that's where Tyrion was needed, because Dany was like, well, Davos can raise a torch on his own, wave a torch on his own. And it's like, well, guess not, because they couldn't see you. Because guess what? The Night King brings the darkness, and they were flying on dragons. So I really loved how, the darkness kept coming with the others. That was really cool. That visual was beautiful. And that's, again, the director, Miguel Sapochnik. He's so good. But then, you got John hitting trees, and then you got Dany falling off and not John. It's like, dude, what's going on here? This guy has never ridden a dragon except for their little date, which I just still hate more than anything in the world. But, I mean, I just don't understand how he stayed on and she didn't. But whatever, suspension of disbelief again. So, but yeah, it felt like John was wasted. And this is why I don't understand all this Prince that was promised talk in the show. Because who was the prince that was promised then? Dany out there stabbing a couple whites, protecting Jorah? That's not the prince that was promised. It's supposed to be Jon. He's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, and that was never invoked at all. And that bothered me.
If I may,
Please.
I think it sounds to me like it's a nutshell game. Which the pea is under the nuts, under one of the nutshells, and you goes back and forth, and you have to pick up, and you've got. I think it's like they're playing a nutshell game with us in a way.
Yeah.
It kind of seems that way, but I thought that when Melisandre lit the fire, I thought that was pretty good. I thought she was going to bite the dust right then and there, and I didn't know that she was going to make it all over there. But one thing I found that when they were manning the walls, you had Brienne and Podrick and Janie and Sam and all of them. Every one of them, they were fighting just as hard as they could. And I saw Davos up there, and he's just nobody around him, and he's hitting here and there. But Arya has to come save Davos, and he's like amazed at Arya, which I thought was kind of cool, So I guess that's where we're to is her fighting
Yeah,
next.
Davos. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead, Don.
I was just gonna say, it's funny. At least they stayed with that Davos. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. So I guess his deal was to wave the torches. But and I did like that little look at Arya, like, whoa, what in the hell is up with this little girl? She's badass. And
Yeah.
Davos is kind of always the watcher, sort of. He's always the envoy, the watcher, and I felt like he was just waiting to kill Melisandre. He didn't really have anything else on his mind, because he wasn't really commanding.
No, he had a one-track mind to do the torches and kill her and survive. Like he said, all I've ever been guilty of is surviving and living to be a ripe old age. Which is what he said that time. But you got the Hound right in there wanting to give up, and Beric trying to talk into him, and he tells him that you can't win, we can't beat the dead, and he says, well, tell that. Beric tells him, well, tell that to her. And then I was very glad to see its protectiveness still there. Yes, it's okay if he was going to die. It was one thing, but he wasn't going to go and stand there and let her keep fighting while he didn't. I thought that it carried on with their arc very well, and I think it'll put them together in the rest of the season. I can see them working together for in the next few episodes.
Definitely, because we're gonna go now to Cersei, which I'm surprised by. I thought this would be an ongoing thing until the last second to last episode, which is always the big battle. I thought this would be the big battle, but I guess it's gonna be Cersei. But so it'll be the Hound and Arya together against the Mountain and Cersei, really. And somebody's got to take Qyburn out. I don't know who that's going to be. Maybe Varys. I don't know. But I do like the fact that the Hound just kept going for Arya. He really did. He would have hid probably for the rest of the time if it weren't for her. And I have to say, I loved Beric's death. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did. I loved it. It was a Jesus moment. It reminded me of Stigmata. He's standing in that doorway just getting stabbed and stabbed. And it was, he looked like he was on a cross.
The only reason he was around was to give his life for Arya or Jon or Sansa or Bran, one of those. What do you think, Steph?
We're on to the Arya scene, right? Okay. So
yeah,
I'm going to go back just like a tiny bit and say, again, we have a small Paul moment with Sam with Jorah before we get to the Arya scene. And Sam should have been in the crypt. Gets me very pissed off that Jorah's been there since the beginning of the battle. He was the first one with the Dothraki, and now he has to drag Sam into his position. Like, go downstairs, Sam. You're such a stupid idiot.
It's true. He should have been down in the crypt. You're right. He should have.
Well, it would have been good if he had been out in the crypts when the dead came back. Exactly. If he was there protecting Billy, he would have been braver at that. I think.
Very true. Sam's good in small battles, when there's one-on-one.
With Gilly.
He's not good in, he's good at protecting Gilly. That's it. Really.
And baby Sam. Okay, so with the Arya scene, I definitely got the Night Fort story with Simeon Stareyes with her weapon.
Yeah.
Right? Did anyone else get that? I got that so good. It was just like, right, like it's spinning it and everything. Like I feel like this scene is what you missed with Dorne and Sorella, or it was one of the Sand Sisters, where she had this weapon and she was supposed to be wielding it, right? Like this is what you missed out of.
Nim? Yeah, Lady Nim, is she the one with the spear? Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of the Sand sisters. Like, who cares? They didn't
One of
make
them,
it.
whatever. Yeah.
Mama,
Who cares?
Um,
Crappy
I
sand snake.
I also felt like there was a Mad Axe thing. Hold on. Like
Yeah.
4-2 with killing brothers, because you're talking about this is all the dead that they killed in the north, right? Which could have been brothers of the Night's Watch. So I felt like that thing was going on where it was like that. Like it kind of harkened back to season 1 where John does save Jorah Mormont from the White, right? Where he was killing basically his own brother in that scene. I felt like that. And the silence too. Beric
Yeah.
tries to make
The
the Hound.
silence is good.
Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Okay, you can go. Hold on, give me a second.
No, go ahead, Steph. Go ahead.
Okay, with the sand or with the Arya scene, I don't understand why Davos also wasn't in the crypts, because he just stood there and literally just like watched her and was like, can you do something? Do you have a weapon? Do you have a weapon? You need a weapon. Like, please get a weapon if you're going to be fighting with us. I kind of felt like I what I have in my notes is the meme or the gif of the dog with the house on fire, where he's zipping coffee and he's like, everything is fine. Right? Like, that was Davos' scene. Like, he was just sitting here like, and, like, everything's on fire around him, and like all Winterfell is going to hell, and you're just sitting there zipping your coffee watching Arya fight the battle for you. Like, so stupid. Lyanna Mormont during versus the Giant, he just slaps her aside. I thought she was actually dead here. I don't know what, like, she's so small. She's like probably 10, like in the show. Like, she should have been dead from that slap, right? Like, if we're thinking back to 1-1 and all the damage he did, right? I don't know. And then the Hound saying, "I can't beat death." I find it weird that the Hound associates them with death more than he does with fire. It's a little strange to me, because I don't get that. Like, maybe they're both combined, right? But he finds more comfort in the fire, which is really weird in this scene. Like, there's something that I'm missing in this scene where it makes his acting like really, really important. Where I can't decipher it.
Actually, Steffi, I got the feeling that um, he was that the fire was taking the dead were taking the place of his over precedence over his fear of fire. In that, he was scared of fire, but he's more scared of the dead now than he was the fire. And I mean, he's always been just a basic bully most of his life, working for Joffrey, and I don't think he liked a picture of himself as a bully like that. And now he's faced with his own mortality, and he's always had such a pessimistic view of everything and life in general. So I think that's kind of part of his makeup. Just my thoughts.
I agree, Nan. I mean, it was a little bit odd. Maybe there is something we're missing. Maybe the Hound has been bred in a way. Like, I've always thought the Cleganes were a sort of genetic experiment of some kind to see how big you could make a man by Tywin or something bizarre like that. And that's why the Mountain has the headaches and has to take the milk of the poppy all the time and all that kind of stuff. But it did feel weird that I just saw fire and the Hound just standing by that wall, like, I'm not going anywhere near that fire. He always freezes, just like the Battle of the Blackwater. But then he has that line where it's the dead he's afraid of. But, I guess whatever. I just keep saying it, suspension of disbelief times 1,000. But the Hound, maybe there's something more about the Hound. maybe, I was wondering if there was something more about John, because he was in the middle of the fire when Dany lit up the Night King and then lit up all the whites around him with Drogon's flame. And John's like right in the middle of that fire and didn't touch him. Even his clothes didn't go up. But there's embers flying and fire everywhere, and he's right in the middle of it. And then Viserion's blue flame is hitting him practically all around him for a good, 3 different scenes, and he's surviving that too. So maybe that's the ice and fire in him. I guess maybe that was what we were supposed to infer from that or get from that. I don't know, but it just felt like John, he's not that far from the Godswood. How'd Arya get there so fast and John couldn't?
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here for a second. I actually kind of agree with Cynthia more than you, Ash. I feel like Brother Ray, I guess, in the show, but it's Septon Maribel in the books, and I feel like he did replace his fire with death. He realized in that moment when he was dying that death was more scary than fire, and I feel like that's what he was afraid of more than the fire. Like, you can obviously have more fears than one or more phobias than one, obviously. But like in that moment, I felt like it was that. And then obviously you have the Hound pointing to Arya, right? Like saying she could, like, what about her, right? You made a promise to her, you go after her.
Yeah.
What did I write here? Yeah, that basically my points. Lyanna Mormont killing the giant. I wrote, it goes back to Leaf in the Cave explaining to Bran about the giants being their banes and brothers, a dance with dragons. And I'm like, we know through 1-1 that giants and vegetarians, but this giant is going to eat Lyanna. That's what it looks like. He's picking her up, right? And then he's like, right? Like he's going to eat her and stabs her, right? Or she stabs him, right? So I felt like that's where the bane and brother came in. The bane of the side was them getting turned to whites. It was your fault that your brother got turned to whites, right? Like the whole thing, I forget it. Hold on, I gotta look it up on Twitter because I'm gonna get pissed off. It goes like men would sing sad songs, but men would and fight, right? That's
right.
that.
Men would be wroth. Men would be wroth. Yeah.
Right. So it kind of harkens back to Leaf being so sad and why she's trusting Bran so much in that moment to fulfill her. Next scene is the dragons fighting. You see that Dany's fireproof when like they go up into the clouds and they're like flying again. Again, a beautiful fucking scene. Beautiful. Like the amount of money they must have shoved, like just like it must have been like briefcases, right? Like my dad went to like Canadian Tire. I guess it's like Home Depot or whatever, like Leon's or whatever that you guys have down south. But he opened the briefcase and it was like a bunch of Canadian Tire money, right? It's like dollars and cents and stuff like that, right? Like I feel like that's what D&D, like, here's all the money, go make these scenes beautiful, right? Like go put them into 20, right? Like unbeatable. Like now every show sucks because of them, right? But it does prove that Dany is fireproof and Jon isn't, right? Because of the battle scene later on. And now we're off to Arya tippy-toeing around Winterfell.
Around the library, yeah. Yeah, that was cool because all I could think of was Serial Pharrell and her calm and still water and all that. It was so cool how she was just soundless, even when she killed that white chick in the throat and just laid her down really carefully. She was awesome. But what I didn't realize until I watched it again was that she hit her head really hard right before that happened. And she fell down, and it was the hot blood, which I like because that was a tie-in from the books, that the others hate hot blood and fire and the sun. So her blood dripping made them all hear her. And then that Dothraki, you could see it was a Dothraki leg standing next to her, and she's gone. That was cool. Arya was awesome. She really was. And you could just see so much dancer in her.
It reminded me of the first season when she was creeping around the crypts at the Red Keep, and the dragon skulls were there, and she was listening, to Varys and them. That was Syrio, and not only Syrio, but then, the afterwards, the faceless men teaching her stealth. And she has been taught stealth since she was a child. And she's basically a young woman now, even in the show anyway. So yeah, she was just sneaking around until they just, finally, thank God for Beric and the Hound, because they come in right at the nick of time and save her.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys enjoyed this scene, but when I was writing my notes and everything, I said I didn't quite enjoy this scene, and it's because of the Arya tippy-toeing scene. I didn't really enjoy it as much because I am a book reader. The show, it came off as as a viewer of the show, came off as stellar, because you remember that scene where Arya's like on the thing and she's trying to like balance herself, and Ned comes up and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Right? And she's like, Syrio says blah 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 blah, right? Like Syrio says I must be as fast as I can, right? Like that's what it came off as. But as a book reader, the one thing that Arya misses with her faceless men training is being able to see in the dark and being able to be stealth-like by herself. Right? She's able to be blind, right? She's able to like touch the wall and feel the nooks and everything like that. And this scene, it was just Arya by herself trying to be stealth-like. And I feel like as a kid learning that, it would be different than the faceless men training you to do that. Where in the faceless man thing, she was cat of the canals and she was seeing through the cats, right? Which harkened back to Catelyn Stark and whatever, right? So that's where she officially leaves her training in the books.
Right.
And then the smells is also what she leaves, which harkens back to the blood, because blood has it has like a smell. It has like this iron smell to it, which
right.
Ash brought up with the books and like them being able to smell blood and everything. So it made the whites almost like dumb, right? Like you did hear sounds. I blared this episode just to make sure, right? And she does make like her leather does make sounds when she rubs it and stuff. I feel like if you throwing a book and it landing makes a sound, they're gonna hear that other sound, no matter where they are, because they're all a hive mind, right? So it's like one's attached to the other no matter what. It's kind of like when she stabs that white or that undead. I don't know how to name them in the show, but
I know, I don't either.
I'm just gonna call the ones that are easy to kill the undead. Okay, so she stabs the one in undead in her throat, and what I'm thinking is if that thing saw you for a second, that thing would have known where you were, and the rest of them would have come running after you. You were screwed the moment that thing laid eyes on you. So I feel like that was really wrong, like from a book standpoint, but as a viewer standpoint, it made perfect sense. Like it was really good, but like you need to give me.
You're right. Yep, it's true. That's why I keep saying suspension of disbelief. Okay, I'll just have as much of it as I can possibly feign from somewhere, because I have to. Otherwise, you're right. I mean, she spent how long being blind? A long time, and warging cats, and it was, the thing that made me think of though is when Melisandre said he was brought back about Beric. He was brought back. The Lord of Light brought him back over and over again so he could get to this point. And die for you, basically, die protecting the living. That reminded me of him giving his life in the books, his last flame to Catelyn. And it was almost like Arya was supposed to be Cat of the Canals in that moment, or Blind Beth, that she was supposed to be stealthing around and not being able to be seen or heard, and that Beric died as if he was giving himself to Lady Stoneheart to create her, even though, didn't really play out that well. But it's what I thought of. I'm sure.
I just have one thought and one thing to say about this subject, this thing here, is that when you're talking about Arya in the books and the show, it's two different things, So Arya in the books, when she is blind, she's doing the warging the cats and everything. I think there's a big difference in warging a cat, which is able to see, all around, than it is to be just with no animals that you could warg in a room with nothing but books and dead. I mean, there's a difference. I don't think the warging would have helped her in that predicament.
That's what I'm saying, Cynthia. Like that, you hit the nail on the head. That she was cheating with her faceless man training, where this instance she wasn't able to. Right? Like the show did it really stupid of her just being blind and getting hit in the face with the wraith. And they should have had like a cat in the background to like show that she was eventually cheating. Right? But they didn't want the Starks to look special in the show. They wanted them all to be similar, except for Bran to be special and to warg into his dire wolf and stuff like that. So it was missing where all the Stark kids are able to have that ability, that warging and I forget what it is. The other one. It's like the other one, that one, and then Green Singer.
Skin changing.
Skin changing, right? Where Sansa has that skin changing ability to the Hound. Right? Where she's able to see, like, oh, you're not going to hurt me. Right? Just like how she has that with Joffrey in the throne room. Like, oh, I want my father to do that. And then he's like, yeah, right? And he tries to fight it off, and then it breaks away from her. Yeah. But, like, it just, Cynthia was, that's the point I was trying to make, Cynthia, that she didn't complete her faceless man training, where the rest of the people that were in the faceless man order were trying to complete their training exactly to the T, where she was cheating.
Right. She was always Arya of Winterfell and I'm going home. Yeah. She didn't give up needles. She didn't give it up. So she didn't get that training. But still, maybe if one of the direwolves would have come alive or something, she would have been able to do it. But Sansa didn't have any abilities either. And as far as I'm concerned, Sansa should be telepathic. That should be her ability since she lost Lady. That's what it felt like to me in the Blackwater when she thought the Hound kissed her, the unkiss. And he really didn't, but he was thinking about it. So she thought he did. So it's kind of the same thing. Like, there's nothing there to warg, but she should have still kind of had that knowledge that the Night King is in all of their minds. It's a hive mind, like you said. So you're right. If one of them saw her, the rest of them would have come right at her. So no need to throw the book.
But like even in the library, I forget what scene it is, but like I think it was in Game of Thrones where they say that the Ned Stark sends men to go kill the rats in the Broken Tower because they become so thing. It's kind of like a Night Fort reference to the king the right king killing his eating his son and stuff like that. So I feel like there would have been a rat in there that Arya would have like went to, and then she would have been able to see everything. But because it's the show and not the book, it doesn't translate as well. Oh, and one more thing. I'm really pissed off with the second episode. I'm really pissed off. I put this on Twitter too. I don't normally talk Game of Thrones on my Twitter account. It's very political. You don't want to follow it, but different political views. It's different from real life. But I felt the stingiest stinge by D&D was not giving me a Hound and Sansa scene. Instead, they gave me a fucking Theon and Sansa scene. I appreciate Theon choosing Sansa over Dany. That was a very important scene to watch.
Right.
But the Hound should have been with Sansa, and he should have made love to her. I feel like it wasn't a Gendry and Arya scene that was supposed to happen there. Maybe it was supposed to happen simultaneously, but it should have been the Hound and Sansa. I felt like that was written in the cards. When Arya leaves, he's like, I should have fucked your sister. You can't make that more obvious to the viewers that, oh, you're not going to hurt. Like, it was everything. Like, from him touching the blood on her lip after Joffrey gets Sir Meryn Trant to hit her after looking at Ned Stark and the Septa, I forget her name. But
Nella.
On the wall, right, where their heads are put on spikes. Like, it was everything. It was the accumulation of everything. The Hound was there through everything with her. In King's Landing, like, that was her go-to. That was her dire wolf. It should have happened. It was everything. It was I'm supposed to have puppies with Loras Tyrell, right? The crippled or whatever after whatever battle or whatever tourney, and then it was supposed to be the Hound puppies. It made sense. Okay.
Oh, of course.
Didn't.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Like, as a book reader, you bank on them. I hope LaDonna watches this, because I'm going to give her a shout out right now. LaDonna, you and I know that was supposed to be a Hound and Sansa scene, right? Like, from the get-go. Like, that's how it is, right?
I echo that, LaDonna. It's true. We needed a Sansan. We needed the Sansan. We did. Because it was just, we got the Hound protecting her and getting out of his fear because of her. And all of that, but that because of Arya, but we needed the Hound and Sansa. I agree. Yeah, I mean, what has this all been about?
To each other, have we?
No, really, we haven't seen them together. No, which is very strange because she's at this point in the book, she's in the Vale, thinking about the Hound nonstop with those puppies. And she even told Maya Stone that he kissed her. And they were like, what? But she still was like, oh, should I have not said that? But yeah, we needed that in there somewhere. It's true. Yeah. And I wonder, a part of me wondered, because I heard George in an interview once kind of laugh at that theory. He was like, what? Oh, but still, like, you're going to do this much fan service and you can't just give us a moment with Sansa and the Hound? Come on. Yeah.
Look, I just wanted a fucking reunion, okay? I wanted a hug like Theon and Sansa had a hug. I wanted a wraparound Sansa moment, because Sansa killed those scenes. Like, if she was up for, like, an Emmy, right? Like, Emilia Clarke is obviously going to be for this fucking episode. It's written in the fucking stars. Like, you're going to win, girl. You're going to win. But, like, if Sansa, like, I just wanted that scene. I wanted that scene. At least just give me a hug. A hug. That's all I wanted.
Right. Right. Show me that you're still my protector. Not just Arya's, but mine too. Yeah. And I mean, she's the Lady of Winterfell, so what better role for him to play? That's his role, is to protect the king. Fuck the king. Well, then protect the lady.
You're looking at me, but like the other people aren't reading what I'm saying. But like,
I swear I can read your mind.
Okay, yeah, you can, Ash. But like, when the Hound is officially like freaking out with Beric, right before this scene, he's like up against the wall. I feel like that's when the Hound was going to go to Sansa and be like, "I'm protecting you." That's it. It's set in stone. Right? Like, Arya would have been like left abandoned, like, you let Beric take care of you. Like, we'll get to that scene. That's the next scene. But yeah, like, that's how I felt. Like it was written. George R. Martin didn't tell D&D that's what happened, and that was a crucial thing for book readers to get.
I agree. And maybe that's why George blew it off in the interview. Like, oh, what's that? Ha ha ha. Because it's going to be in the books. Probably all of the stuff that he's denied is going to be in the books. I mean, that's just what I think. I have a feeling these books are done and he's just waiting. Going, create as many butterfly effects as you want. Have fun. You know, at least I got my dance of dragons in there.
Well, you know, we've always said that the books wouldn't come out till after the series. I do want to say one other thing, you know, as far as the Night King and Arya, we're still on the path of where are we at now, Steffi?
We're at
We're about out of the
hold on, we're at Beric dying for Arya.
for
We're at
Arya.
Melisandre and Hound and Arya. And then Bran and Theon and Godswood.
Christ pose
Yeah,
and
okay.
Melisandre thing, blue eyes, green eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when she says that, what do we say to the god of death? And Arya says, not today. And that's when she left. But what I was going to say about this whole setup, and I may be jumping the gun, I don't know, but when Arya kills the Night King, it seems like you don't get any backstory as to, you know, it's kind of like, okay, I thought we were going to see a little bit more. And yeah, I think that this kind of sets up for the next series to come, The Long Night, because I just expected more of a background there. And maybe we'll get it in the books, or maybe we'll get it in the next series. What y'all think?
I just have to say really quick, I agree. And I have to say that we've got a great person in the chat, Karen Singh, saying, you know, I was really disappointed with this episode, and the Hound and Arya's characters are cold-hearted. They're not the type to have a warm-hearted reunion, which is true. It really is true. And saying that Arya should not have killed the Night King, which is what we were saying. Where the hell was Jon? What was Jon even there for? So, yeah, I agree with you there. Just had to give you a shout out. Plus, DJ11's in the chat just really quickly. I got to say that. And JD and Colts Just Win. And who else was there? Thampster. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Hey,
Thank
Tyler.
you,
Thamster is my guy. Hey, Tyler. I know you're watching this. I teased him for so long. I'm like, go hunt me on YouTube. I'm like, you won't find me. I'm like, I like hiking, try to find me. Because Cynthia tags my name at every bottom of the episode. My name comes up in them. It's just like it doesn't, right? So like you'd have to go hunting.
Good though. It's a good sleuth.
Hey, you gotta give you credit, girl, because you come with your own unique set of views, and they are so good. Well, I love it. I love the variety and the diversity in our conversations. Great job.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in for the Beric and the Melisandre scene. Okay, I thought there was heavy duty Christian symbolism with Beric's death, like of him going like this and then like trying to stop, like even when he was stabbed in the kidney, right, which was supposed to be, it's old, but like it's supposed, like different versions of Christianity, but Christ was stabbed with a spear into his kidney, right, like into his liver and stuff. It depends on what version. But like there was so much, it's like I'm gonna save all my children right now. That's what it felt like. And if R'hllor is true, which obviously it is, like I would follow R'hllor from this day forth. Like if I saw that, like that would be it, right? But like faith and everything, so you gotta have faith in that. But like it was so beautiful. Like that scene was above par. Like I felt like that scene must have been filmed like 100 times for them to get every single ounce they got out of that actor. And it was just
love him.
It was so beautiful, just utterly beautiful. Whoever that actor is, I hope you understand how much your scene was worth to the viewers. Like in the book, Beric Dondarrion isn't as hype as he is in the show, but in the show,
Right.
he is so hype. It's beyond the hype
God,
level of hype.
I have to agree with you wholeheartedly because I have always loved Beric the most. I mean, he's always been my heart, really. And to see him standing there like that, I started bawling. I was just like, "Oh, yes, there it is. It's not John is not Jesus. He's Mithras. Beric really was the one brought back and back and back, and to see him standing there like that was just beautiful. Because he is the leader of the Brotherhood without banners, and he is kind of Robin Hood. He almost made me cry.
I'm
And a
gonna cry
question
right
though,
now
with
just thinking about it because Beric, outside of Jorah, Beric was the saddest death, and I didn't realize it until
Oh
that
yeah.
moment where he died. I'm like, you
Yeah.
gave so much more to this series than everyone else, right? Like you were there, you fought the Hound. You're the only
he
reason why
was
the Hound had
unselfish.
this journey, right? Like
Hmm.
it was so like fitting to have that moment. Like it was insane. Like Beric, like if it was just you that I had to give my grade on, you would be 20, man. You would be out of this world for this episode. Even your eye patch at the beginning, like it was just
Yeah.
all. That's all you needed. That's all you needed, just to stand there with your fucking little eye patch over your eye, and that was it. You rocked.
I'll say.
Well, I got
I
a
love that
question. Was
actor
it
so much.
just me, or with Melisandre being there? And all I gotta ask this: he stood up there between there and got cut and stabbed for so long. Was it like he was not able to die right then, and only once they got her out? I mean, was there some of the magic there of the red god or whatever keeping him standing there so long? Because he stood there and
Yeah.
staunched the tide.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
jump.
he lasted a while.
Go Ash. Go Ash.
Go for
You.
it, Steffi.
No, you go first. You go first.
I was just gonna say it's fitting. It's so fitting for Beric because we don't like Thoros didn't even know why he kept coming back and back and why he could bring him back, and it just felt like of course Beric's gonna make it through 70 stab wounds, and a bunch of whites, so that he can die as making sure Arya's safe and Clegane, come on, he's how many times did he say that? Clegane, I love that, and nobody really cares about the Hound, but Beric really always did after that trial. It was fair and square, and it was beautiful that they tied it up that way. And for Melisandre to just come out of nowhere and say that, I thought was pretty beautiful. I know. It makes me emotional.
With Beric, I gotta disagree with you, ladies. I feel like the moment he threw his sword, he left R'hllor, and it was just about. I feel like in his soul, he knew he had to save this girl, and the sword was the symbolism of him leaving R'hllor, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
It was like he had this flaming sword that was brought for R'hllor, and then he threw it, and then he went and protected the girl that he knew his soul had to depend on. Right? That one life, that's it. That's all he saw, right? Fuck the flames, fuck everything. That's what he had to do, right? Like it was just it was almost like it kind of harkened to Jorah and Dany. We'll get
Yeah.
to that scene
Yeah.
later because that involved his own thing, but that's how it felt. It was like he wanted to see the rest of the world survive. It was about the living and the dead, and when he threw that sword, he knew that it was about the living, and Arya was the living. So that's how I felt. Like it was just Arya in that moment.
I
Yeah,
agree.
me too. He was there for her. Yeah. Beautifully done. I see
Okay.
Spots is here. I just have to say hi. Good to see you.
Hey, I see.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Okay, so I haven't talked about the Melisandre scene yet, which we kind of tipped on. I think Cynthia tipped on it a little bit. So I was just going to read the scene out as it was. It said, "The Lord of Light has brought him back for a purpose. That purpose has served." Which, it's almost like the way that actress acted in that moment was perfect. I'm not into like that. Maybe Ashley knows the actors and the directors, and I'm not good with names. Okay. Okay. So
Oh my
one of the
God.
reasons why I didn't become a teacher, like screw your names, like you 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the way she acted was like, oh my God, when I saw Snow, when I was calling Azora High from her prophecies in the book, she said when she tried to call upon Azora High in her visions, all she saw was snow, but one of those visions was the girl on the gray horse, which was supposed to represent Arya, which makes sense only because of a show sense, which is weird. Because you think it would make sense because of Alex Karstark, but because she was on the horse last season, and then she met Ed Sheeran, that's the only reason why it fucking makes sense. It's very complicated.
Right.
But yeah, that's how I felt. I loved how Melisandre calls Winterfell the end of the world, because in Bran's dream in A Game of Thrones, he hold on, I have one of the theories here.
Yeah, that was beautiful to me too. I feel you there, Steph. It's the end of the world. The wall is the end of the world. It's the veil between the living and the dead, and Winterfell is the last. I mean, it really is the last stronghold before the veil of death.
Yeah, like
yeah, but this is twice that winter fell at Winterfell.
Yep.
That we know of.
The Night King was made against that heart tree.
No, his was made above the wall. I think that one with it's shaped like a what do you call it? Arrowhead.
I know. Supposedly, though, D&D after the episode said that was where he was made before Winterfell was built.
Oh,
Which
not in the books.
Again, it's like, okay, guys, whatever, but that's what they said. So I guess supposedly that guy was made at that tree, and then Winterfell was built. And what it says that I find quite interesting, though, is that it was not leveled. The ground was not leveled before Winterfell was built. So it was built on hills and valleys. And there's something that I've found, just really quickly, I have to say this, that there's something that I've found among the people whose names end with Mund, M-U-N-D, Tormund, Osmond, like the Kettle Blacks especially. And I'll do a video on this sometime.
Yeah, please do.
It's really, really interesting. It all has to do with Bloodraven. And I think it's kind of body thief kind of stuff. Like he's jumping bodies and he's still doing what he was doing in the Dunkin' Eggs. So he's everywhere. And I feel like there's something about the Munns and the winged helms, the guys that wear the winged helms like Oswell Went and Gendry made a winged helm too. They are the divine protectors. That's what they are. And so it felt like, okay, so if he was made at that tree, that's sort of apropos then, you know? And then Winterfell was built where the Night King was made, so that's where Winterfell works. Winterfell.
Hold on.
By the way, really quick.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll remember. Go ahead.
No. Okay, so I'm gonna jump in there quick, Todd, because it makes sense because of the tree in the Night Fort. Okay, just so people know, it's a godwood. It's the hard tree, so it makes sense that the Night King would be brought back there.
That's true.
Or be made up.
Right. And it's strange because the word Winterfell in Old English is Winterfelled with a D at the end, ED at the end. And that word itself in Old English means October, which at that time, they didn't go by the same calendar. So the last month of the year was October. That's when winter fell. on the land, and so people didn't really count the months. They just waited for the spring and started counting from then on. So that's another little interesting tidbit from medieval mythology.
Okay, so
And
back to the Mel scene. Okay, so
Yeah.
Mel calls Winterfell the end of the world. So I got the quote here. Like, Ash,
Oh,
I can't wait
good.
first of all, I can't wait for that video because I like me and you
I know.
simpatico. I get it. I want you to do it. So
You see?
okay, chat. So Melisandre tries to look for Azor Ahai, but she only sees snow. But in these visions of calling Azor Ahai, she says, "I've seen your sisters in my fire, fleeing from this marriage they have made for her. Coming here to you, a girl in gray on a dying horse. I've seen it, plain as day. It has not happened yet, but it will." It's my sister. And then Bran's vision in the Game of Thrones. George R. R. Martin says everything that the prophecy says is in a Game of Thrones. That you don't need to look into the rest of the books. The rest of the books are just merely more evidence for it. So just look at a Game of Thrones to begin with. So this is in a Game of Thrones. Finally, this is Bran when he's having his fever dream after he falls and he's paraplegic in his bed and he's dreaming. Finally, he looked north. He saw the wall, shining like blue crystals, and his bastard brother Jon sleeping alone in a cold bed, his skin growing pale, as hard as the memory of all warmth fled for him, which was when he was resurrected by Melisandre in the show. North and north he looked. But, like, how far is north is in the, like, to Dorne, Winterfell's north as north can be. Right, it doesn't include the thing. And to the curtain of light at the end of the world, which is what Melisandre references in the show, that Winterfell is. It's as north you can be when it considers Westeros. And then beyond that curtain, which is where the Night King is and whatever, he looked deep into the heart of winter, and he cried out, afraid, and the heat of his tears burned on his cheeks. So I feel like in the show, we'll get to this scene, but there is a conversation. There is a conversation. Bran, I really wish D&D would come out to like an alternative scene where they have subliminal like text message like subtitles at the end of the screen of what their conversation is. Sandy?
Right. Yeah.
You want to give your
That's good.
Okay, hold on. My sister's here. What do you want to say?
Steffie's always
Hi.
Steffie's always right.
Steffie's
I agree.
right. You gotta
That's good sister right there.
Yeah, I know. She doubted me when she came home that episode, right? Like, you're wrong here. Like, you suck. Would you like to give your opinion on
Please do.
Yeah, Sandy, they're calling for you to do your
my opinion. I don't have an opinion.
She doesn't have opinions.
I have opinions.
No opinions.
Would you like to give your opinion? Here, listen to the ladies.
It's just us. Come
Here,
on.
get on the screenshot.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Really nice to meet you.
Oh,
Finally.
thank you. I watch from the side a lot. Whenever she bursts out laughing, that's me.
Do you have any opinions?
On what?
Give your opinions on the episode quickly.
The episode was sick. I liked how much they said with how little words they said it with. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's true.
I think there were like
Not much dialogue in this.
No, it was like 33 words or something like that. Like there were no words.
Really? 30? Yeah. Felt like that.
It was.
We're talking about the Melisandre hounds Arya scene where she finally finds out her purpose of killing
I
them.
think she realized her purpose when she was lighting the logs. That she had to make that bond with the Lord of the Light when she was lighting the logs and they weren't lighting, and she's like, damn it. Okay, fine, you can have my life, and then they lit.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
because Sansa and Arya were looking at that scene. You remember, you guys, where she
Yes.
was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta watch this," right? Oh, that makes
Yep.
sense.
And
Now I get
then right after that, Arya sit her down.
it.
Yeah,
Sansa
and
went
she
to
was
a party that night.
She
That's
was
right.
looking side to side at the
Mhm.
whites, like, ooh, they're coming for me, they're coming for me, and then it lit.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
And I think that's when she figured out that she had to die. I think she kind of just was saying it in like passing, like somehow she's gonna get through it. And then when she had to make that pact to light the moat, I think that was like the final nail in her coffin.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Have you seen the meme
Yeah.
with her necklace on the ground, and then the Onion King is looking at it, and then he's all pretty?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that.
It's funny. Here, I'll send it to you, and you can send it to your friends.
Okay, well, she'll send it to us.
Okay, well, have a good
Okay.
night, ladies. It was very nice meeting all of you.
Okay, honey. Take care. Nice to
It
meet
was
you.
so nice meeting you. Thanks for
coming
coming on.
That makes sense, though,
Oh.
eh? Like in my drunken
Yeah.
stupor of watching the
Yeah.
episode, I didn't even think she was right in that moment. I'm like, "You're stupid. Shut up."
Am I telling
No, it did, because you saw the flames in her eyes too, and I love that, because that's Melisandre, looking into the flames, misreading them, or sometimes reading them correctly. It's really cool to see the flames in her eyes.